Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here, as always, trying to cut through the noise, make sense of some pretty complex stuff, and maybe uncover a few, well, genuinely strange insights along the way.
And today, we're diving into some really foundational material. This is session 6 from the early sessions, book 1 of the Seth material. The session itself was recorded very precisely on Wednesday, December 11th, 1963. It starts right at 9 p.m.
Right. And we always want to start by acknowledging the source properly. A huge thank you to the Seth material itself and to the publisher, the New Awareness Network, for making this incredible historical record available.
Absolutely. And just our standard declaration here. This deep dive, our analysis and discussion of this source, it's going to be distributed completely free of charge. We're putting it out on all the major platforms purely for educational purposes.
Yeah, education and, let's be honest, sheer fascination. Because this session 6, it's quite a ride. It bounces from, deep metaphysical warnings to these incredibly specific, almost bizarre details about people's families and even where they're physically located at that exact moment.
Yeah. It really does. It's like cosmic family therapy meets, I don't know, psychic private investigation. We get these wild past life stories tangled up with warnings about spiritual safety.
And some of the personal details are just unforgettable. You got someone's dad, who apparently used to be an extremely aggressive woman back in 18th century Paris. Explains a lot, maybe.
And then there's the bit that always gets me, the almost chilling accuracy about Jane Roberts' father. Seth pinpoints him down in Florida.
Not just Florida, but where in Florida, right?
Yeah.
And the kicker, how many dogs he has with him at that very moment.
Exactly. 3 dogs. It's such a specific, verifiable detail. It just pops up in the middle of all this high-level entity talk.
It really grounds the whole thing, doesn't it? Okay, let's get into it. Section 1 starts with the basics, almost like setting up the communication channel.
Yeah, the questions are very fundamental. Jane and Rob are clearly trying to understand who or what they're talking to. First up, does Seth have a last name?
And the answer is a simple no. Very direct.
Then they ask about the state they're in during contact. Are we in a trance or under light hypnosis?
When we are talking to you. And Seth says, sometimes. Which is interesting in itself. It's not a constant state.
Right. It suggests it's flexible, maybe depends on what's being discussed or the energy levels involved.
And then there's that great moment of confidence. They ask, can we talk to you at any time we choose?
And Seth just replies, try. It's almost a challenge, isn't it? Like the channel's open, but you got to put in the work too.
It's encouraging, but also puts the onus back on them. Okay, so basic contact established, but then they immediately jump to something, well, pretty advanced and potentially risky.
Yeah, they ask about using hypnosis to view the next incarnation, or even life after the whole Earth cycle is done. Big stuff.
This feels like skipping ahead quite a few chapters. What does Seth say?
He says, yes, though much caution must be used. That's the key phrase, much caution.
Okay, so possible, but dangerous. Right. What's the specific danger here? Is it just like mental overload, getting confused?
That's what they ask. Is the danger mental? And Seth corrects them quite firmly. He says the risk is primarily spiritually.
Spiritually. Okay, unpack that. What does that mean in this context?
The core danger he identifies is the inability to adjust and return intact. Not just mentally scrambled, but spiritually fragmented. Like you might damage the actual structure of your current self, the one trying to navigate this life.
Wow. So it's not just psychological whiplash. It's potentially damaging the connection between your everyday ego and your deeper spiritual self. You could actually lose pieces, spiritually speaking.
That seems to be the implication. You leap so far ahead, see things your current structure just isn't equipped to handle, and it breaks something fundamental. You can't properly reintegrate back into the here and now. The spiritual jet lag analogy you used earlier, it's kind of perfect.
So the integrity of the current life experience is compromised. You might know too much or see something that makes this reality seem unbearable or meaningless.
Precisely. It could derail the whole purpose of the current incarnation, which is about specific learning and experience within these limitations.
Which then leads to the natural question. Did Seth ever try this himself, back when he was incarnated?
It's a good question, and his answer is nuanced. He says, as Seth I might have, other personalities would not.
Ah, okay. So that confirms Seth isn't just one single being or personality. He's more like a composite entity, right? A collective of experiences.
Exactly. It implies different facets or components within the larger Seth entity have different inclinations. Some parts might be cosmic thrill seekers, ready to push the
While
boundaries.
others are maybe more cautious, more focused on integration or stability.
Right. It shows a kind of internal diversity even within a highly evolved entity, which is, in a way, quite relatable. Different parts of us want different things, even on a cosmic scale.
Okay, so we've got the high-level warnings about spiritual time travel. But then, almost immediately, the focus snaps right back down to Earth. Or rather, to the messy, complicated lives of Jane and Robert's parents. Seth basically turns into a cosmic relationship counselor.
He really does. They start with Robert's father. The question is about why he seems so timid and often ruled by his emotions, despite being intelligent.
And the explanation Seth gives is, well, it's a doozy. It involves a past life.
A very specific past life. Seth states he was an extremely aggressive woman last time.
Oh, okay, details. This was back in the 18th century. Location,
Ah.
the capital of France, so Paris. And apparently, this aggressive female personality caused unhappiness.
So the current timidity isn't just his personality, it's a reaction, like a pendulum swinging way back in the other direction. That seems to be exactly it. A massive overcorrection. Seth says he was always intelligent but often ruled by emotion, as now. The aggression from the past life was so intense, so problematic, that the entity chose an opposite expression this time around, perhaps too opposite, leading to being overly restricted emotionally.
It's like a spiritual hangover from a past life, determining your current emotional state. That's
Yeah.
quite a concept. It gives a whole new layer to understanding family dynamics, doesn't it? Maybe some issues aren't just learned behavior, but karmic echoes.
Or echoes of entity balancing acts, yeah. Then they shift focus to Jane's father, and honestly, his situation sounds even more complex.
How so? What's the description there?
He's described as a fragment entity, uneasy with present personality.
Hold on. Fragment entity. What does that actually mean? Like a piece broken off from a larger whole? Not fully formed somehow?
That seems to be the idea, a part of a larger entity that hasn't fully integrated or maybe separated prematurely. Seth explains the consequence. There's a gap between ego and subconscious.
A gap. What did that cause?
It causes vital forces to escape. It's like having a constant energy leak in your spiritual system. Chronic fatigue, anxiety, a sense of unease, maybe difficulty holding things together.
That sounds exhausting.
Yeah.
Just fundamentally draining. And there's another layer too, isn't there? Something about his mother.
Yes, this is particularly unusual. He's described as being a part of his last mother's entity.
Part of his mother's entity. Not just influenced by her, but actually like spiritually entangled across lifetimes.
It suggests an incredibly strong, perhaps overly dependent connection carried over. Maybe the mother entity was so dominant or the fragment so weak that it couldn't fully separate its identity. He's operating, in part, using a piece of her spiritual blueprint.
That takes family baggage to a whole new level. So given these challenging individual histories, the overcorrecting father, the fragmented father, why did these specific parents get together, Jane's parents and Robert's parents?
Seth frames their marriages almost like rescue missions, contracts of necessity between struggling souls. For Jane's parents, it was about fragments attracting.
How so?
Her mother apparently represented solid aggression. Jane's father, the fragment entity leaking energy, was drawn to that. He saw aggression as strength, something he desperately needed to feel whole or stable.
Ah, so he was trying to plug his energy leak with her aggressive energy. But wasn't there some timing issue involved too? Something kind of funny in a cosmic way?
Oh yeah, this part is gold. Seth says Jane's mother was reborn too soon. She apparently chased after her father, knew him before.
Knew her own father before this life.
Yes. And then, upon being born as his daughter, she was shocked to find herself his daughter. Get this. She wanted to be contemporary.
She wanted to be his contemporary, like his peer, maybe even his partner, not his kid.
Exactly. It's a cosmic scheduling error. She aimed for one kind of relationship, maybe based on a past connection, but ended up in a completely different hierarchical one. Imagine the subconscious conflict that creates.
No wonder family therapy exists.
Yeah.
Okay, what about Robert's parents? What was their contract?
His father, the formerly aggressive woman, now timid man, needed his wife's qualities, specifically her vitality and boldness, to counteract his own emotional shutdown.
And this leads to that incredible analogy Seth uses, the temperature one.
Yes, it's so striking. He describes Robert's parents like this. He frozen on top, she frozen beneath, together bearable temperature. saved each other.
Wow. Just, wow. Not warmth, not passion, just bearable. He's intellectually frozen, maybe emotionally unavailable on the surface. She's perhaps emotionally stuck or frozen deeper down.
And together they create a kind of stasis field. Not ideal, maybe, but survivable. They regulated each other's extreme internal temperatures. It reframes marriage sometimes not as romance, but as kind of spiritual symbiosis for survival.
It's a strangely beautiful, if stark, image. So with all this complex past life stuff and fragmentation going on, can traditional therapy even help these individuals? Like psychoanalysis?
Seth actually says yes, psychiatric help could be useful, but he adds an important qualifier. He notes that age is some detriment in that sort of adjustment, meaning the older you get, the harder it is to fundamentally shift these deep-seated personality structures and beliefs that have formed around these spiritual conditions.
Makes sense. Patterns calcify over time. It's harder to rewire yourself when you've been running the same psychic software for decades.
So we've just had this incredibly dense session on family history, past lives, entity fragments, really deep abstract stuff, and then bam, Seth completely switches gears.
Right. It goes from the cosmic to the concrete. They basically test his connection to the physical world in real time. They ask him point blank.
Seth, where is Jane's father right now? This is December 11th, 1963.
And the answer comes back immediately. Florida. They press him. Just where in Florida?
And he gives the location, Orange Beach Park. He even adds that the father had been there only a very short time.
Think about that. Jane and Rob are sitting in Elmira, New York, hundreds of miles away. Getting this specific verifiable location must have been, well, pretty stunning. Absolutely. It shifts everything from theory to potential proof. But it gets even more specific, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. They ask the inventory question. How many dogs does he have with him?
And the answer, spelled out clearly, 3.
3 dogs. Not some dogs or a few dogs. 3. That kind of mundane detail is incredibly powerful as validation. It's not philosophical, it's factual. If they didn't know, they could check later.
It anchors the whole communication in a very tangible way. Did he mention anything else about who was there?
Yes. He confirmed there was a woman with him as well.
Okay, so location, duration, number of pets, companions, gender. Pretty specific. But then Seth brings it back to the father's personality, right?
He does. He reiterates that James' father is basically good, but the underlying issues, the fragmentation, the energy leak are still a problem. Those hidden aggressions, which Seth says are sort of inherited from his connection to his mother's entity.
Those are a danger.
Yes, a danger. Because his fragment ego not strong, these powerful, unintegrated feelings could potentially erupt, causing harm to himself or others. It connects the abstract entity issues back to real-world consequences and stability.
So the internal spiritual state has direct implications for behavior and safety.
Yeah.
Okay, they've got all this detail. Did they try to push for just one more piece of information?
They did. They asked the obvious next question. Can you give us the name of the woman with him right now? They had everything else.
And what was Seth's response?
Just one word?
No.
No. Just...
Yeah.
Yep. A clear boundary. He could provide the location, the number of dogs, the presence of a woman, but the name, that was off limits.
That's fascinating. Why do you think that was? Privacy? Ethics? Or maybe just a limit to the information feed?
It could be any of those. Maybe it violates some kind of interdimensional privacy policy. Or perhaps certain types of personal data are simply harder to access or transmit. It shows there are rules, or at least limitations, even for an entity like Seth operating at that level. Information access isn't absolute.
Interesting. It suggests different tiers of information. Spiritual structure?
Yes.
Yes. Number of dogs? Yes. Stranger's name? No. The rules of psychic access are clearly complex.
So, after that incredibly specific detour into Florida motels and dog counts, the conversation zooms back out to the bigger picture. Universal cycles, lifespan, that sort of thing.
Right. They ask about the average human lifespan, which they peg at around 75 years back then. Why only 75? Seems short from an entity perspective, maybe.
Seth's answer is very efficient. He basically says that's long enough.
That's it. Just long enough.
Pretty much. His explanation is that the entity deliberately split during incarnations to have focused experiences. 75 years, apparently, is generally sufficient for the intended learning or data gathering for that particular life segment. Then the entity needs to go back to being the whole self between lives to process it all.
It's like a mission length. Get in, get the specific experience, get out, integrate. Longer isn't necessarily better from the entity's point of view.
Exactly. It's an efficiency model for spiritual growth in a way. Then the questions get even bigger planetary scale.
Ah, the continents rising and falling. They ask how many times that's happened.
And Seth's answer is simple. Endless. Puts our current geological moment in perspective, doesn't it?
Definitely. We're just one tiny ripple in an immense ocean of time.
Did he give any indication about future activity?
Yes, they asked about the next period of significant continental changes, and he gave a specific time frame, which must have seemed ages away in 1963. He said the activity would begin 2000.
The year 2000. That was peak sci-fi territory back then, often tied to, end-of-the-world fears.
Right. But Seth immediately offers reassurance. He states this upcoming activity will not destroy our civilization as we know it.
So major geological shifts, yes. Apocalypse, no. Just another turn of the cosmic wheel. It's almost low-key for such a potentially dramatic prediction.
He kind of normalizes massive Earth changes, framing them as part of the natural cycle rather than an endpoint. Okay, but speaking of drama, then comes the seance attempt. Ah, yes. The moment of truth, or attempted truth. They ask Seth if he can provide some physical sign. Table wrapping, moving something.
Seth says, yes, possible, and you can feel the anticipation build in the session notes. They describe getting quiet, palms sweating, pulse racing.
They're ready, focused, expecting something to happen. The classic seance setup. They even try focusing on Jane's ring on the table.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing happens. Complete silence. It's a total anticlimax.
All that build up and then fizzle. What was Seth's explanation for the failure? Did he just, shrug it off?
No, his explanation is actually really important. He says quite directly, I can't get through. You aren't receptive enough.
Not receptive enough. But they were getting complex sentences spelled out on the Ouija board just fine.
Exactly. And that's the key insight here. The type of receptivity needed is different. Seth clarifies later. Sorry. Reaching to another level not easy. It implies that the energy or frequency required to influence the physical environment to make wraps or move objects is different, maybe requires a higher or more refined level of energetic alignment from the receivers than what's needed for mental communication via the board.
So communication isn't monolithic. There are different channels, different energy requirements. They were tuned into the mental frequency, but not the physical manifestation frequency.
Precisely. It highlights that this is a two-way street. Seth's ability isn't enough, the receiver state is crucial, and this failure actually becomes the perfect springboard for the next phase of their development.
Right, because if the Ouija board works for mental stuff, but physical proof fails due to their receptivity, the next logical step is, well, improving their internal receptivity, right? Moving beyond the board.
Exactly, and that's where the session pivots. It becomes about training their own psychic abilities. It starts with validating some of Jane's own experiences, specifically her dreams or intuitions about levitation.
Seth confirms levitation is possible.
Yes, he says it's possible and validates John's feelings about it, but then he adds this curious historical detail. He mentions that Jane had actually helped someone else levitate in the past.
Really? Jane facilitated a levitation. Was it like a purely spiritual thing?
Apparently not entirely. Seth adds it involved trickery then, part trance, and the person involved was described as a man who was unwholesome.
So a mix of genuine ability and maybe some stage magic, or at least happening in a context that wasn't purely high-minded. It shows the messy reality of developing these things, perhaps.
Could be. It acknowledges that psychic phenomena aren't always neat and tidy, but the main point is the validation, leading to the core instruction for them now. They need to start training for contact without using the board.
Time to take a training wheels off. How does he suggest they do it?
The instruction is simple. Both try. He emphasizes the importance is magical, implying it's about focused will and intention. The clear mandate is begin training.
And do they try it? Right then and there.
They do. They experiment immediately by trying to get answers to questions internally before going to the board for confirmation. Jane goes first.
What was the question?
A really deep one. Why do cripples exist? And Jane receives an internal answer. She notes it wasn't her typical way of thinking, but it felt right.
And the answer was?
Fragments refuse to help individual as organized organism.
Wow. That's incredibly technical. It links physical disability directly back to the concept of entity fragmentation and lack of internal cooperation within the whole self.
Right. It's a high-level structural explanation, and Seth's validation is immediate. Very good. It confirms Jane successfully tapped into that deeper stream of information directly.
Okay, so Jane nails it. Does Robert, or Joseph, as he's called in the notes, try too?
Yes. He focuses on a practical matter. Jane's book, To Hear a Dolphin, which was currently with a publisher. Joseph internally gets the sense it will be accepted that month, possibly with some changes requested.
And Seth's verdict.
Seth confirms, yes. And he adds, significantly, two together should do well with this, highlighting their combined energy and its positive influence on their creative work.
So we're seeing individual psychic hits and now validation of their partnership energy. This is building somewhere, isn't it?
It absolutely is. The climax comes when Jane asks for her spiritual or entity name, Rupert. Joseph tries to receive it internally.
And does he just get the name?
No, he gets something much richer. He receives a full-blown vision. He describes seeing a tall man walking along a path in robes and in hilly country.
Wow. Details.
The sky is very blue, trees are gnarled, daisies are vivid, the man seems serene, arms outstretched, and crucially, Joseph notes the figure reminds me of Joseph.
Okay, that's significant. It's not just a random image, it's resonant. A spiritual self-portrait almost, connected to Jane's entity name.
Seth immediately validates the vision. Very good. He identifies it as an aspect of spirit expansion. And then Joseph puts the pieces together, realizing aloud that Rupert must be part of the same entity as himself.
The connection. And Seth confirms.
Seth confirms. True. And then he delivers the assessment that really marks the peak of this session. Excellent. High stage of cooperation, near end of reincarnation cycle.
That's huge. It validates not just the vision, but their entire relationship and spiritual journey together. They're nearing the end of the reincarnation game, operating at a high level of spiritual partnership.
It's a profound moment of confirmation for them. And just to cap it off, while Joseph is distracted looking at his notes, Jane spontaneously receives another internal insight.
About what?
About how the pyramids were built. The answer flashes into her mind. Rock followed the will, rock followed the hand of the will.
Mind over matter. Pure intention shaping reality. It perfectly underscores the theme of developing internal power, moving beyond physical tools or limitations.
Exactly. Their training in direct contact is already yielding results, tapping into fundamental truths. #tag outro.
So looking back at Session 6, it really covered an incredible amount of ground, didn't it? From the complexities of why Robert's dad was timid because of an aggressive past life in Paris,
to the chillingly specific verification of Jane's dad being in Orange Beach Park, Florida, with exactly 3 dogs.
Right. And those stark warnings about the dangers of spiritual tourism, trying to jump ahead too fast with hypnosis.
But the core takeaway, I think, the real synthesis, is that shift towards internal development. The failed seance wasn't really a failure, it was a redirect.
Yeah, it pushed them away from relying on the Ouija board and towards cultivating their own direct knowing. And the validation they received, especially Joseph's vision of Rupert.
And Seth confirming that high stage of cooperation and being near end of reincarnation cycle. That really defines the ultimate goal revealed in this session. Entity expansion, integration, working together spiritually.
Absolutely. And if this kind of deep dive into the architecture of reality fascinates you, the learner, we really do encourage you to explore the source material yourself. Check out the Seth material books.
Yeah, and you can find them and support the ongoing work by visiting the New Awareness Network website and their bookstore. That's at sethcenter.com/the early sessions.
It's truly rewarding stuff to grapple with.
Now, this session gave us that interesting prediction about continental shifts starting around the year 2000, but reassured us it wouldn't destroy civilization. But it also consistently warned about the internal dangers.
Right. Those hidden aggressions inherited from past lives or other entities, the instability of a fragmented ego that's leaking vital force. Seth seemed to suggest those were the more immediate threats to well-being.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to consider. We all have histories, echoes, maybe even fragments within us. What hidden parts of your own entity structure, maybe subconscious patterns or unresolved energies from past experiences, might be influencing your life right now? Are you dealing with your own kind of cosmic hangover?
Something to definitely ponder. Until next time, then.
We'll leave you with the session's closing note for their next contact. Fine, TBM.
Good night. We'll see you for the next deep dive.